Billy Meier tells that he is in contact with extraterrestrials and even wants to have undertaken time travels with them. It's a crazy kind of thing to say. He says that he has regular contact with aliens from the Pleiades. And he also says that he is the last incarnation of a prophet, which I find...
Multiple prophets.
Yeah, lots of prophets. He also claims that to have met Jesus himself on a time travel, who confirmed to him that Billy possesses a lot higher spiritual maturity than himself. Yeah, a strange thing to say, but we don't know. And there are some very controversial UFO pictures that coming from him. For example, the well-known UFO photo that looks like the UFO that looks like a cake, kind of a birthday cake or wedding cake, but somehow it looks like the lid of a garbage can to which one has stuck some Christmas tree balls. I don't know. Have you seen those picture of this thing? And
I have.
If you watch videos about it, it looks like the UFO is hanging on a string. It makes some oscillating movements also. So I don't know. It's very controversial.
Yes. No, a lot of it is controversial, and there's other photographs and other footage that is pretty mind-blowing that skeptics can't duplicate. So it is a teeter-totter in the UFO community that some people love them, some people hate them. But again, he did make his mark in ufology. Like,
that's for sure. I give him that.
No one knew what the Pleiaren were, and where the extraterrestrials were coming from, the Pleiades, and the stories of ancient stories of the Pleiades, the Seven Sisters. They're all in different cultures too, with Egypt and the Hopi Indians and other cultures. I think China too had a story of the seven men or something like that.
Yeah.
But no, the fact, besides the UFOs with Billy Meier, his life is kind of like the Indiana Jones. I guess when he was younger, he joined the French Foreign Legions and then escaped that. And then I guess he was doing really odd jobs, like he was a bounty hunter for stuff in the Middle East, and he go by the name of the Phantom. Like other weird, crazy adventures this guy did all around the world, trying to gain his own knowledge and stuff like that. So that's another part about him that's pretty impressive, that I find intriguing in the case. But yeah, again, that he started meeting these extraterrestrials when he was 5 years old in Switzerland.
Yeah.
So yeah, at 5, he's meeting up with his name is Slaw, or God, I'm saying his name wrong.
Yeah, those names are hard, even if you're German like me. It's
yeah. Well, I know Semyazi and Asket and Quetzal. So throughout the years, he got them meeting these extraterrestrials that either one of them are related to each other or came from the same area of planets. But yeah, they would just come and they had their own agenda with him. You know, they would just kind of tell him what they wanted him to know. And I guess Wendell actually was talking about they were interacting with other people around the earth too at the time, not just Billy Meier. There's another guy who claimed that up in California, his name is, he's a Native American named John Two Birds. And he claimed that back in the 80s or the 70s that Billy Meier came to where he was having a little lecture or whatever. And after the lecture, he came and talked to John Two Birds and said that he had some friends that wanted to meet him. So he went to go with Billy to this area up where there's a campsite up by the canyons. When he went up there, he saw that there was a man and 2 women wearing like these jumpsuits, like pantsuits, as to say. And when they got to him, they greeted him, but when they greeted him, their mouths weren't moving. They noticed they like telepathically greeted him, and he greeted him back telepathically. And then I guess they had their exchange of information. I guess they were following John Two Birds for years, just as like Billy Meier, watching him from a distance, I guess, and then exchanged information. And I guess John Two Birds wanted some evidence that this meeting occurred. And then I guess Billy Meier pulled out a stack of photographs that he took and gave him like 5. I guess Billy Meier also gave him some transcripts of one of his meetings with the extraterrestrials. So the fact that there's so many different witnesses and other people who claim to witness these extraterrestrials and be there with Billy Meier, just kind of makes you wonder.
He talked about those girls coming from the Pleiades. Is Pleiades the right pronunciation? I don't know. I think
Pleiades.
Pleiades.
The Pleiades.
Pleiades. Man, it's a hard word for a German guy like me. One of the women gave him his laser gun, her laser gun, and he shot a hole in the tree with it. And there are pictures of it, and the gun reminds you a lot of a 70s toy. Do you see? Do you saw those pictures? Well, I think that's an actual laser gun.
Yeah, that is. That's very questionable. It just boggles your mind, though. That's why I teeter-totter with his stuff too. But I do want to believe. But I like to listen to these other witnesses that were there and took their own photographs. And why would they go along with a story that this guy just made up? This makes sense to me.
Talking about photographs, there are also the photos of the dinosaurs, which he wants to have made on a time journey. To me, they are not exactly meaningful. They found pictures in a dinosaur book that are exactly the same from this flying dinosaur. I don't know how it's called. If you put them on top of each other, you can see that they are the same. That's the same picture.
Yeah,
it is the same. So this pic is debunked. It's the same picture. The same with pictures of cavemans. They also found this picture in a book, in an old history book or something. They found a picture of those cavemen. So he faked it. He also made many statements and predictions that are very controversial, and some of them turned out to be just hot air. Yeah. And yet this man has a lot of followers. He has a lot of followers until now, to this day.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, the fact that I have contacted with his people myself because of the photographs that I have with the Ascot's beam ship with the F-117 stealth fighter. Well, because Michael Horn reached out, like I said before, he reached out to me first, and then members of FIGU from Switzerland messaged me on Instagram. I'm sorry, not Instagram, Facebook. But yeah, this confirming what I had was for real and stuff like that. So it was kind of cool. People and everybody's been really nice to me in that community.
We talked about that UFO that looks like a cake, and it looked like it was hanging on a string and did those oscillating movements like it was swinging on a string. Jack Wills, who is an awesome comedian from Philadelphia, sent me a video, which is, by the way, already from 2015, I think, that shows how scientists make a drop of liquid float within a strong magnetic field. It just came to my mind when I thought about those swinging UFOs from Billy Meier. And it was pretty impressive. By changing the frequency of this acoustic field, you can also change the shape of this drop. This made me think if this could be applied to UFO technology. Or rather, that possible UFO builders have built this in as a feature or for their flying machines. That's crazy. Crazy thought. Find it pretty interesting. There were reports from people who have such sightings where UFOs hovered above them in the sky and were round in shape, but all of a sudden the shape changed and the UFO kept changing its shape into different patterns. Might be some technology just like this. Makes you think.
It does. Or I was told too that they even like UFOs kind of ride the magnetic waves that are on the Earth too. So you can kind of see that bobbing motion a little bit, kind of like a
Yeah.
boat on the ocean type thing. But no, I got these really awesome and really rare photo books of Billy Myers. These are like pretty expensive. They're like $300. Like I could find that wedding cake one here.
That's the wedding cake.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know.
But yeah, makes you think. Like,
Also, the position of the UFO, I don't know. It looks kind of odd to me.
well, like these ones too with the multiple.
Yeah, I think those are pictures that makes me think.
Mhm.
I personally, that's my opinion. The cake UFO is a fake. I have no doubt in my mind that this is not a real thing. But those pictures are great. Those are great.
Yeah, and like you got to think too. There's no Photoshop in 1975.
But there are debunked pictures where people threw stuff in the air and made a picture. Could be something like this also. So you could throw stuff through the air and make a picture of it. It was no problem. But yeah, the wedding cake, I don't know.
I was gonna say we could talk a bit more of I guess, some more ancient sites too. We could talk about that are really interesting and.
Yeah, of course. What
And
you got for me?
all right, so we'll start with Dundee Mountain.
Dundee
It's
Mountain.
it's right by Dundee, the little town that has the UFO parade once a year. So there's this mountain. Was created by a humongous glacier. I guess the glacier had this river that was running underneath the glacier, and these big boulders started just kind of stacking up on each other. That's how archaeologists and other people who know how this mountain formed, apparently, was through this glacier. But anyways, let me get back to the UFO thing. But anyways, this became a UFO hotspot for thousands of years, where the Native Americans in the area called this little mountain Spirit Hill, and was seeing lights and other weird phenomenon coming in and out of this mountain. And there's actually a campground right below the mountain. So I actually would like to go camping there in the summer. I haven't done that yet. But yeah, I guess today still has phenomenon, people seeing lights and other craft floating above the mountain or just shooting right past it. I don't know if there's raw minerals underneath the rocks that maybe the extraterrestrials are interested in it. I have no idea. Or there's a magnetic field or ley lines. Yeah, it's a big mystery.
Ley lines are very interesting. I talked to some guy from Austria who is looking for ley lines with his stuff. I don't know.
Oh yeah,
those. It was very interesting talking about those ley lines. I haven't heard about it before, but it was very interesting. What kind of UFOs do people see there?
The majority are lights.
Lights, right?
Yeah, like balls of lights.
Yeah.
And there's another ancient spot called, it's called the Black River Falls Pyramid, and it's a single giant boulder that was, I think, ancient Native Americans must have carved into it, kind of like the Sphinx. There's one big solid stone, and they kind of just chiseled. But yeah, it's this big ass pyramid that's just kind of shaped into a pyramid in this rock. And there's old pictures from the 1920s of like just people in the area just taking pictures in front of it. But yeah, right now it's overgrown with trees and bushes, and you can barely see it now. And it's close to the road, and it's on someone's private property, so you just can't just go up and walk around and check it out yourself.
So there's a pyramid on private property, and nobody cares about it.
That's correct.
That sounds a little bit odd to me. So I would clean it up and I would present it to the world,
right?
To the tourists, or I don't know. I would love to see this thing. How big is it?
I haven't personally been there. I'm guessing it's big. Well, by the looks of the pictures, the people are tiny and the thing is pretty. Yeah, I
Is it
don't know.
just stacked up stones, or is there? Do you know if
No,
there is an
no,
entrance or?
it's like a naturally formed rock formation, but there's no
Oh,
other rocks in the area that look like it. But
yeah,
the Native
yeah,
Americans must have started carving into it to kind of form its
yeah. Okay,
the
okay.
way
I
and shape
missed
and
that
stuff
part.
like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but do you have knowledge of an? Is there an entrance or something like that?
I don't know. No, I
Yeah,
don't know.
that would be interesting. Or if something is under it or something like that, it would be cool
Yeah,
to know. Yeah.
I was gonna say too. There's another spot. There's a place called the Man Mound, and it's in Baraboo. It's an hour away from Madison, and it's this gigantic mound on the ground. You can't really see it when you're standing next to it, what it really is. You have to see it from the sky, and it was meant to be seen from the sky. And it was like depicting like this astronaut looking mound with this bulbous head and just, you know, hands and legs and everything. Just, I guess back in the 1920s, they were making roads, and someone made a road right right through its legs, and they realized that it was a mound, and they're like, "Oh shit!" So they had to like um, protect the rest of the land or whatever. Because I guess there are four other man mounds around Wisconsin that got destroyed by early builders, like building roads and houses and stuff like that.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
So
The but the fact that these Native Americans talk about this powerful God that they're predicting on the ground only to be seen from the sky is kind of like trying to entice the god to come back. Started this cargo cult type thing again.
yeah. So you told me they were building roads and stuff right through the legs.
Yes, I could send you pictures.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
and those formations are not protected?
I think they've passed a law back in the 50s of like Native American mounds need to be held sacred and
Yeah.
protected. There's another guy that's pretty popular. His name is Noah Voss, and he wrote a book about Wisconsin UFOs,
Mhm.
and he talks about all the hot spots and other cases. It's really nice. It's a really awesome book. He's well written, so I recommend anybody who's interested in Wisconsin UFOs to check out this book by Noah Voss. And this book is from Coral Lorenzen, and she is the founder of APRO, and that's the very first UFO organization in the United States. And
Oh,
and it started in Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin, in 1953. So the fact that like the first UFO organization in the U.S. started in Wisconsin, like says a lot that I'm not lying about UFOs in Wisconsin. So
yeah.
um, this is her first book, and it actually talks about her experience when she was living in Barron, Wisconsin, and she was 9 years old, playing with her friends outside. That a UFO just kind of popped out of the clouds, and it was kind of shaped like an umbrella without the spokes and the pole, and it was rotating and kind of hopping around. And her and her friends were just staring at it, amazed. And then ever since that day, she was on a quest, and her and her husband started the organization in Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin, in 1953. But yeah, she's a big player in the UFO community. She's not around anymore. She's obviously dead. But
Yeah.
she was a big investigator going around the United States. I think maybe around the world too. She's kind of like Linda Moulton Howell.
Do you got some more UFO cases that we could talk
Let's
about? It was so
see.
exciting to listen to all the UFO cases you told me before.
Yeah,
I'd love to hear some more.
New Mexico, 1965. And his case is kind of similar to Billy Myers. He would have, I guess, well, he was like a traveling person for work. He would like some kind of technician for electricity. He would go to certain spots, and he has to take pictures if anything was going wrong in the power lines and stuff like that.
Okay.
But anyways, he started having these telepathic messages coming to him out of the blue to go to certain spots. And when he went to these spots, these UFOs would just pop out of, or flying saucers just fucking pop out of nowhere and show up, and they'd land in front of him and pick him up and tell him that his soul had some connection with their ET race. That's their connection to him, and that's why they were reason why they were visiting him. And I guess they would do this. I guess he would have these sightings for 10 to 15 years, and he would have them like once or twice a year. It wouldn't be as frequent as Billy Meier would. He always had a camera with him too, because for work he would use his camera, and he caught an awesome series of photographs. I don't know if you can see.
Whoa. Yeah, that's kind of like Billy Meier's picture. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah, no, like there'd be a series of photographs. Yeah, again, there were brown hair, blue-eyed, human-like extraterrestrials. But again, they're very clear.
We talked about those brown-haired, blue-eyed extraterrestrials before when you told me about the case of, I don't remember the name, but the case with the pancakes.
Yes, Joe Simonton in Eagle River, Wisconsin. Yeah.
Yeah.
But what's unique about Paul Billa's case too, he never came out with his photographs or his story. His friends and family actually took his photographs and his story and brought it to the public, and then it ruined his life, like where he became a hermit crab, just to get away from everybody. I guess even Coral Lorenzen was actually after him, saying that he was a con man and was faking all his photographs and stuff like that. But that's why I liked Paul Villa's story too, because the fact that he never came out and said his story, and it's just his friends and family that kind of ruined his life.
Some stories are just crazy, but
yeah,
I have a crazy story for you from Germany.
Let's hear it.
Actually, back then it was Eastern Germany still, and there is this young guy that told me his story. He was a guest in our podcast, and he told me that when he was, I don't remember exactly, but I think he was like something like 6 or 7 years old, and he was told to bring the trash out to the trash can, who was outside this building complex where he lived. And he went outside with the bag of trash, put it in the trash can, and besides the trash can, guys, don't laugh now, he saw Santa Claus standing there, just standing there with strange looking eyes. And this guy was dead serious. But the story changes and makes you think. Sounds funny right now, but it changes. And the Santa Claus pointed at the sky. If a German guy lifts up his right arm, it's not so good. And Santa Claus pointed to the sky, said nothing, and there was this ball of light. We talked about balls of light before on that mountain that you told me about. Mountain? Yeah, mountain. And he saw this ball of light, and I think he told me it was one at first, and then it changed, and there was 3 of them just hovering, and then they disappeared. So this was his first contact, and from this day on, he had contact all throughout his life. He's now, I'm 42, and I think he's I don't know, in his 30s, mid-30s, I think. Great guy, very, very great guy. And then he told me, then the visits started. He was laying in his bed, and he woke up at night, and he saw penguins standing around his bed, like 1 meter, 6 or 7 or 8 penguins standing around his bed, just staring at him with those freaky, crazy black eyes. Those eyes, he said, those eyes, he can never forget those eyes. And he also told me that ever since that happened, he fears horses because horses have those dark, big
Yeah,
eyes.
dark, big eyes.
He
Yeah.
freaks out when he sees a horse. He freaks out. Yeah, it sounds funny, it sounds crazy, but the more older he got, those penguins and fantasy creatures, it's not only penguins, it was other creatures from, I don't know, like you see in Disney movies or something like that. They visited him and they never did something to him. And they was just standing around his bed. And one day when he was older, it wasn't penguins anymore and some fantasy creatures. It was gray aliens standing around his bed. So made me think that maybe they didn't want to hurt him. I don't think they wanted to hurt him in case that story is really happened like this. They don't want to hurt him, and they don't want to hurt his brain when he was a kid. They don't want to mess his brain up. So they showed him something that he maybe likes or is not afraid of. So they said, "Hey, we're penguins." I think that's a crazy story. I think, and when he said when he was older it was grace, it made me think maybe this is true. Maybe this is true. I don't know. I don't know. But when you talk to this guy, he's a very honest and very shy. He's very shy, and he stutters when he talks. He's stuttering, and you can feel that there is still fear in him, that they will come back. Or when he talks, you really can feel the fear inside of him, in his voice. Wow. He's really afraid. He's really afraid, and he takes a lot of meds now. And yeah, the doctors, of course, told him he's a little bit, crazy maybe, and he needs medicine. Now he swallows pills every day, and
it reminds me of the shape-shifting cases too, that people witness these extraterrestrials. They would be gray, and then they would actually turn human.
Yeah.
Or like the Skinwalker. You ever heard of that? The Skinwalker Ranch?
Of course.
Where, like, this thing actually can shift into animals or a human, or I think it helps it to blend in to our world, basically. And it's probably comforting to see something less scary, like you said, the Santa Claus and the penguins is a less threatening animal, I guess. You know, I have no idea. That's really interesting though, especially if the guy is really dead serious about
He's dead serious. He was dead serious, and was. You should hear the interview, but it's in German, and it's if you hear him talk, he's very believable. And the shape-shifting thing is really scary to me. If it's true, I don't know if it's true and if there's such a thing, but you hear stories everywhere about it. I talked to the UFO researcher Preston Dennett. People, you should look up his channel, Preston Dennett. The channel is called Preston Dennett also. He's a great guy and has great stories. He talked to hundreds, I don't know, maybe thousands of people who experienced such things. And he has great stories on his channel, Preston Dennett. People, keep that in mind.
Okay.
And he told me about this guy he talked to who is a whistleblower from the government. I don't remember what exactly he was working on and what he was doing, but it's in the podcast. And this guy talked about some kind of military base underground, of course. And he saw with his own eyes, he saw gray aliens that shape-shifted into humans and back. Sometimes I don't know what to think about those stories, but you hear them from all around the world. And also those reptilians, reptiloids, people talk about. A few years back, I didn't give a shit about those stories about the reptiloids. To me, it was science fiction. We all know Star Trek, the fight between Captain Kirk and Gorn. You saw those episodes? It was epic. The best fighting scene ever to me. so cringy, and but it's
Yeah.
awesome. And Goran, when he's walking around with his costume and
Yeah.
talking, and the mouth is not moving, and you can see it's rubber, and he throws those big ass fucking rocks, and it kept me.
Rocks, yeah.
And yeah, every time somebody mentions a reptiloid, I have this scene in my mind. I can't help it. This scene pops in my mind. Reptiloids never were a big thing for me. There was this TV show. I think you saw it over there. I'm not sure if it was in Germany too, but it was called V.
Yes.
Yeah, V. And
I remember that movie. I remember that show. Yeah.
I watched on YouTube and saw a few episodes or parts of episodes, and yeah, those reptiloids were appeared as humans, and then the skin came off slowly, and you saw. Yeah, I don't know.
I think David Icke is the big reptilian guy.
David Icke. I would love to talk to him.
He kind of disappeared unless the media is kind of really pushing his stuff down.
Yeah.
He's not on YouTube anymore. Or is his newest stuff isn't. Yeah, I haven't seen any really new stuff from him in a long time, actually.
But it's a little bit understandable because it's a pretty crazy thing to talk about, but people love this shit. People love to talk about reptiloids. I don't know what it is. I have a friend who always sends me videos and stuff, and websites with reptiloid stuff. And I always saying, you're really into that shit. And he says, yeah, it's really interesting. And the neighbor's wife came to visit us a few days back, and he said, do you believe in reptiloids? I have heard about this. I've heard about stories from reptiloids that they are under us, and they want to take over the world, and they secretly they rule the world already, and stuff like that. Do you believe in reptiloids? And I say, I don't know. I don't know what to say about reptiloids. It's so damn crazy that it could be true. Who knows? I don't know. A few years back, I didn't give a shit about reptiloids, but now it's an interesting topic also for me.
Yes.
But I don't ultimately believe in it. No, I don't think that reptiloids rule the world, and I don't think that who was it? Bill Clinton is a reptiloid, or the Queen.
The Queen, yeah.
Queen was a reptiloid, and all those big players were reptiloids, and also Britney Spears is a reptiloid also, I think. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm a reptiloid and I don't know it. Let's go back to the sightings and cases. I have another one that a young woman told me. She called me on the phone. I recorded this as a podcast also. It's on our German channel, unfortunately not in English. He told me that she was sitting in the church with her parents, and she was a young girl, like, I don't know, 14, 15, I don't know. And she was sitting in the church, although they were not really big believers in God and not very good Christians, but they went to church now and then. And she saw a burning, what was it? Triangle. A burning triangle coming through the roof of the church, but nobody else saw it. It was just her. She saw the burning triangle coming down, and yeah, she was looking around if anybody else mentioned this thing, but nobody else saw it, and it was just her. And I said, was there some telepathic communication? Did it tells you something? And she said, no, I just saw it, and it made me think. So I think a few years later, she said she was sitting in her living room on the couch, and suddenly a burning ball of light came through her window. Same person, same girl, burning ball of light came through her window. And in that ball, she saw herself sitting in this ball of light, of fire. It was also on fire. It appeared as if it was burning and on fire, but there was no heat to it. Also, the triangle that came through the church roof was also not hot or something. It was just, it appeared
Weird.
it was burning, and there was ball of light and fire. She was seeing herself sitting inside that ball of light, and another copy of herself, let's put it this way, was standing besides that ball of light and fire. She on the couch, one in the ball, and one standing besides that ball. And she was just staring, saying, "What the fuck?" And she was also very believable when she told me her story. Also, she was, I don't know, she was calm and collected, and yeah, I don't know, it was very believable. I was listening to her voice, and to see sometimes when people speak, you can tell there's something fishy, but it's I don't know, it was very believable. And she said, "Did they communicate with you?" Or no, they were just looking at me. And then snap, it was over.
Especially when it happened at a church in the beginning, you know?
Yeah. And she was not, like I said, she was not a big believer, or the whole family, they're Christians, but they're not, yeah, they're not going to the church every Sunday and pray at home or stuff like that. Maybe they went to the church because it was Christmas or stuff. I don't know, but they are not big believers. So I said, "Do you think it was do you believe in God?" I said, and she said, "Well, yes and no, and I'm not sure." And I said, "Do you think it was maybe a sign, or a sign of something that God wanted to tell you?" And she said, "I don't know. I don't think so. I don't know. I don't know what it was." It's a crazy story.
When you were talking, it reminded me of another interesting case of you ever heard of the guy named Peter Curry, from Australia?
I had I had contact with him, and we were talking about an interview, but it didn't happen yet. But
Ah,
we want to do an interview about
cool.
the pubic hair
Definitely.
incident,
Yes, 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 yes.
and
I
some very
love that
interesting
story.
details.
And the way he tells it, I mean, it sounds pretty legit. And the fact that he took a lie detector test too and passed, is pretty
Oh,
amazing.
the lie detector test, yeah, right. Maybe you can refresh our memory with the story.
Sure. Yeah, he was, I think it was 7 in the morning. He said it was really early, and he was laying in bed, and he felt like something jump onto the bed like a cat. And he just happened to wake up, and he saw this white woman with bigger eyes than usual, a little bit longer nose, but she said she was really proportionately fit and had everything going on. He was shocked. It's just like, well, what the hell? How the hell did you get in here? What are you doing to me? And he noticed too that there was another extraterrestrial, or another woman extraterrestrial, sitting on the other side of the bed watching. And this woman was straddling him, and he's freaking out, and she cupped the back of his head and pulled him in, and he freaked out, and he was wanting to get away. He just bit down on her flesh, and then I guess a little piece of flesh went down his throat, and he started coughing and gagging. And the extraterrestrial actually looked worried and looked at the other one telepathically, saying, "He's doing this wrong. This is not how it's supposed to go." And then after that, they just kind of disappeared. And I guess after they disappeared, his throat was still burning, and he had an erection for like 6 hours. It was very painful, he was saying. And he said he noticed there was like if you like take your fingernail and kind of dip it in your skin, you kind of get that indent. Like there was an indent of like a hair that was wrapped around his penis, underneath his foreskin, and he like said he had to rip it off, and it was painful until he ripped it off. His boner left, and yeah, he was just blown away. He's just like, "What the fuck?" And he's like, he had physical evidence again. He took this to scientists, and they found out that it was like this weird mix of like Neanderthal mixed with Chinese and all this weird shit. And like the hair was white, like I guess whatever planet it came from didn't need much light or whatever. I have no idea. It was really bizarre. But the fact that he had the physical evidence, and he took it to scientists, and he took a lie detector test and passed all those. Yeah, it makes this story sound pretty legit, and it makes you think too. Like all these other cases around the world that they're talking about this breeding program, the hybrids and stuff like that. That they're mating with humans and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There you go. Here's a good example.
Yeah,
What they're doing, you know?
they came to fuck. And
They did.
the
Well,
hair
yeah,
was aliens
Even in the
leave us-
Bible, they say that.
Yeah, give us an example.
Oh yeah, like the fallen angels that came
Yeah,
from
of course. Yeah.
the holy books. Yeah, they come in and mated with beautiful women on earth and made giants. And speaking of giants too, I forgot to mention too. We Wisconsin back in the 1920s, two kids from Lake Delavan went into a cave and found 18 fully intact skeletons that were 10 to 11 feet tall with double rows of teeth and 6 fingers. And then they were brought to, I think, Milwaukee or Chicago's museum for a little bit on display. And then people went crazy and like, what the fuck? This is not right. And blah, blah. So they took them off display. And I guess they're sitting in the basement of some museum right now. But yeah, 18 fully erected skeletons in a cave in like Lake Delavan back in 1920 something.
Where are they now?
Again, they might be locked up in the basement of a museum
Oh, okay.
because
I
they don't want
understand.
it. They were displayed for a little bit until people were freaking out and asking too many questions of like, how could this be possible? You know, these giants. And yeah, there's pictures too when they were first discovered.
In a museum, there's always a little slice of paper that tells something about the stuff that is standing there. What did it
Mhm.
say?
I don't know. I didn't see them in the museum. I read that they were in a museum.
Interesting. I think I don't know if I heard about the same story, but there's a story from a museum in Italy that
Mm.
also claimed to have shown some giant bones from giants. I don't know. You hear about the giants all the time also. I talked to an older lady who writes book on that stuff, and she also told me that she believes that there used to be giants walking on Earth, maybe an early civilization of giants. I don't know. She told me about a big ass door. I don't remember where it was, but if I remember, I will let you know. And she said there's a big ass door in on a big building, on a very old building somewhere. I don't know if it's also Italy. I don't know. I don't know. And the doorknob is, I don't know. You can reach it as a normal human. You can reach it as a normal human. The
Right.
door is very, very heavy. A very heavy door. You need a few people to open and close it, and it's very thick.
Wow.
The door is very thick. And she told me about a place that contains very, very, very large barrels, and they are very large, and they shaped like the normal
Barrel. Yeah.
barrels where they keep wine or
hmm
whiskey.
hmm hmm
And imagine that in 20 times the size. And they found traces of wine in it.
Wow.
And I said, maybe it's just a container or a, I don't know, to keep it in there and get it with smaller containers out of it. And I don't
Mm.
know. She said, no,
Right.
no, they were opened from the tap. So there was
Oh, oh.
nothing around it. So you have to open it from the tap. No normal human can reach it.
Wow.
Yeah. Awesome to listen to these stories. I don't know if I can believe it, but giants, I don't know, giants.
The ancient Samaritans talk about the giants, the Anunnaki.
Yeah,
You know,
it's very
they actually
interesting.
they actually show the statues of the Anunnaki holding lions like kittens. You know, and showing how big they are.
It reminds me of stories from the Untersberg here in Germany, and it's right on the border from Germany to Austria. One half of the Untersberg is in Germany, the other half is in Austria, the
hmm
Untersberg. And he's well known for many myths. And on the Untersberg, people claim to have seen giants walking in and out of that mountain long, long ago. There
Mm.
are very old reports, written reports from many, many years back.
hmm
People say they have seen giants walking in and out of the mountains, and also dwarfs.
Yeah.
And it's a very mystic mountain, and it's pretty famous over here, the Untersberg. And he's well known for his time anomalies and portals. And I was talking to this book author who writes about the Untersberg, and he said that he got into such a time anomaly. He was doing some research there with a friend, and they parted. He said, "You go there, I go there, and let's meet at the gas station, I don't know, 9 o'clock in the evening." And they agreed, and they parted. So this guy whom I was talking to was at the gas station, 9 o'clock, and he said, "Where's my friend? Where's my friend?" He tried to call him with a cell phone, and he didn't answer the phone. And 2 hours later, he went home and called the family of this guy and said, "Hey, is he at home? Or I'm afraid something might have happened." And they called the police, and police said, "You have to wait 24 hours before we can go on a search." And the next day, just right before they started the search with the police, the other guy who got lost called and said, "Hey guy, I'm at the gas station, where are you?" And he said, "We were looking for you a whole day. What's wrong with you?" And he said, No, I was doing my stuff, and then I went to the gas station." So he thought it's still the same day. For him, just a few hours passed, and for the other guy, 24 hours passed. That's crazy. And if you take your watches with you to the Untersberg, some kind of watches, analog watches, every watch shows a different time.
Wow, isn't that crazy?
I have a personal friend that that goes on ghost hunting tours and goes on lost place tours and adventure tours. And he went to the Untersberg with a friend, and he took a lot of watches with him to check if those stories are real. And he said he had 3 or 4 watches, and just 2 of them showed the same time, and the other ones all showed a different time.
Wow.
They have been there for 9 or 10 hours, and they slept in a tent. They were so afraid at one point that they even called a friend in Germany and said, "What time is it? My cell phone says this time, this watch says this time, and this that time." And the friend had to say, okay, it's, I don't know, like 1 o'clock, and it matched with the cell phone watch. And all the other watches were completely different. Every watch was showed a different time. There's many stories of the Illuminati have been there many years back. Illuminati have been there.
I wonder if the Nazis were over there.
The Nazis have been there, and there's a story, and I still don't know if it's true. They say that Adolf Hitler had the wish to be buried on the foot of the Untersberg. And people say maybe he had knowledge, or he heard about all the stories of the portals and the time anomalies, and maybe he thought, if they bury me there, I can't come back. I don't know. Maybe that's why he wanted to be buried there. Crazy stories, and stories about portals. Illuminati have been there. The Freemasons have been there, and they say they try to open portals and travel to portals. And there's a story, I think it's from the 70s, and I think 3 guys went to the Untersberg to do some hiking or stuff like that, and they got lost. Their car was parked at the foot of the Untersberg, and they got lost for a few months. I think they were completely wiped out. They were gone. Nobody could find them. They said there was a big search mission for those guys, and they said maybe they were falling to a cliff or something and they died. A few months later, they appeared in Alexandria, Egypt. Many people say it's a lie and it's not true. I don't know if it's true, but they appeared in Alexandria, Egypt. And the strange thing is, that their passports were in their car at the foot of the Untersberg. So tell me, how do you get to Alexandria and
Yeah.
Egypt without your
What?
passports?
Wow.
If it's a big hoax, I don't know how they did it. I'm not saying it's impossible to do it because they were gone for a few months, so enough time to travel somehow to Alexandria,
Right.
Egypt. But what for? What's the reason to
That's interesting. Like the Bermuda Triangle and other
yeah,
weird places. There's another spot in Wisconsin called Burlington, Wisconsin, and they have a vortex in this forest in Burlington where there's a woman who actually, I think she wrote a few books about these vortexes and portals in this forest, and she takes people on these tours where she would take them on these trails around the forest, and you could take your pictures around, and she just take pictures around this area, and when you do, all the pictures come back swirling, like the image is swirling, and then there's weird lights that are going in and out through the picture. And she says that's part of the vortex that's in this area. And I guess Native Americans have been using this area for spiritual awakenings and other things. And yeah, it's really interesting.
very interesting. Another story about the Untersberg is that some guy went to the Untersberg, and I know him personally. He's this book author I told you before, and he said that he was at the Untersberg and he was walking through the woods, and at some point he saw some military-looking guy. He was dressed like a military guy, and he walked and he went between two trees, and then he disappeared between those trees. And this book author went to the trees and looking at the floor and looking everywhere, and this guy was gone. And he said he bowed down to pick something up, and his lighter fell out of his shirt. He bowed down again to pick it up, and it was gone. He said, lighter was gone. And I said, didn't you try to walk to the trees or put your hand through the trees to see if there's some kind of portal or something? I said, no, I was afraid. Maybe the lighter was in the leaves or something. It was, I don't know, maybe it was just somewhere on the floor because there were leaves and stuff like that.
Right.
And moss. And I said, you should have put your hand through the trees. And he said, no, I was very afraid that my arm or maybe something is pulling me through or something like that.
Yeah, right. Oh, that'd be terrifying.
Yeah, portals. Interesting topic. Portals.
Yeah. There's another story that reminds me of a portal, is that I think it takes place in Poland or Germany. I can't remember. And I can't remember his name, but the story goes where this guy was in his kitchen and he noticed that his sink was leaking underneath the bottom, and he opens the cupboards, noticed the leak, and he goes, grabs his tools, comes back, and he crawls in, and he sees as a light just appears, and it gets bigger and bigger, and he's like, what the fuck? And he walks or crawls right through a portal, and he ends up on the other side, and he meets his older self, and he's like, no shit. And he has his cell phone, and he takes a video of him and his older self, and they have tattoos, and they show the same tattoos and shit. You ever seen this?
The same tattoos with wrinkled skin or something like that?
Yeah, he's an old man.
I heard about that story before. I think Jack Wills told me the story, the comedian I told you at the very beginning of our talk. I think he told me the story, and there's a video on YouTube or something. I have to look it up. I didn't when Jack told me the story. I have to look it up now. I have to look it up.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Do you believe stories like that? Do you think this could be true?
I don't know. Could it? How to get back? He didn't really explain that. It's kind of like, how'd you get back? Was the light still there, and you had to crawl back underneath your sink, or?
And
so the story kind of fades out, where it just kind of ends where he meets his former self, but you see him with his video camera, with him and himself with his tattoos, and yeah, I had no idea. But again, it's a very interesting story on the lines of portals and stuff like that.
there are many reports of portals from way back. So that
or the stargates.
yes,
Like
stargates. There's reports.
Ancient Egyptians were using.
Yeah, and carvings, very old carvings in the wall, and they look very, very strange. And some say those are portals. And if you only knew how to use them, you could open those portals and travel through time and space. Yeah, Stargate. I love the show Stargate, and I was always thinking, man, if something like that would be true, it would be
Right.
great. Great. I don't know if I would walk through, but
no, I wouldn't.
I wouldn't.
I'd be too terrified. Oh my god.
And I wouldn't crawl under my sink through some kind of portal. Imagine being that guy. Open your sink shit and see something, a light, and crawl through it. And I don't know. I wouldn't.
No.
I wouldn't.
No.
Fuck it. No. And does the guy says anything about a conversation with his older self, or just watching?
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. You'd think he would say more about that, or even how did he get back to his own time? You know, he didn't explain that.
The leak of information makes me very skeptic about this story. I would love to know how the older self reacted to see.
Yeah, right. Like, holy shit.
Man, damn, I look good.
Yeah, right.